Thank you, Priya. I request our panelists to come here. We could take a few questions probably. Yeah, just 2 or 3 questions. You could combine all the questions.
The tea is waiting.
Yeah. Any questions to anybody? You can raise your hand. We could take 2 or 3 questions together. Yeah, please.
I mean, while there is the concentration is on what is happening in rural India, when it comes to land grab, it is happening in urban areas. It is happening in cities also. These corporates are actually taking away the houses of you and me. Also, I'm just wondering whether the stress is too much on village people who find it difficult to even understand what their rights are. I feel that if the urbanized people were a little bit more conscious of what is happening, they have a better capacity to fight and a better capacity to, attack injustice.
Thank you, all of you. Absolutely fabulous sessions, and thank you all very much for these very and extremely enlightening sessions and the remarkable work that all of you are doing. Just a couple of questions. One, of course, is to Vinod. That yes, I think what you showed about the highways being built, that is actually extremely disconcerting because, as we all of us are aware of that. But so how we have to also find solutions, because the way the world is evolving, some of these things have to be there. But is there a way that we can actually find solutions? And let me give all the questions, then maybe you can address them. And the next question is to you. You know, this ecotourism has really been bothering me quite a lot, because you just gave one example of the Bisleri bottles being kept there. But if you look into the Himalayas, you look at all these, the religious, religion-based tourism, etc., that is happening, maybe it's giving some kind of occupation and some livelihoods to people there, and definitely a sense of pride, which is very important. But I think this constant taking of urban to the rural, how does that impact? Because their aspiration levels keep on changing, and as it is the whole of India, you can see the impact of the West, where the aspiration levels are only to be like them, even though we are an independent, very proud nation. But those are the things. So with ecotourism, I have had these huge questions that we take them to a village where there are these folk musicians and all that, and you really get them to dress up. I've seen that in Rajasthan, they dress up really like in a certain way, doing their presentations all the time. So on one hand, we're talking about natural things, but this becomes so fake. We are interfering in their lives. So is there a way that we can bridge these gaps and actually protect the culture, the people, their sense of pride, and the natural way that they have always conserved and looked after nature, because they are so dependent on it? 2 questions. I won't go into the others, but just these 2.
Yeah. Any other questions? Because I think we just have time. Okay. Looks like
I just want to add to what she already asked. Is basically now we are all talking about the pain points of land grabbing and so. But I see when I go into small villages, being human itself is grabbed out of them. In aspects of when I look at when I drive through the village roads, I see these small shops that are in the villages are stacked up with some fizzy drink and then chips and then so many other things. Like she said, the urban has been taken and dumped actually into the rural places. Mm-hmm. I see the youth wake up, get out of the bed and straight away come to those shops, and then I see that drink in their hand and a piece of sweet, and it's nothing from their own. It's completely from the city. So that way, I think we have grabbed something else more than the land, and then they are totally void of many things. So just wanted to add that.
Okay, I'll answer the highway bit first. Yes, it's a very difficult decision even for governments. We all need development and push for infrastructure, everything. That is priority. But how do we balance that with the other, let's say, ecological needs or the local communities? For example, when a highway like this expressway was built, Sakleshpur used to be a booming town. A lot of restaurants would make money from tourists who would go through this town, but now it bypasses the entire town. So while it's it's catering to a lot of other movement of goods and people, it's also indirectly also killed the local economy. One shining example would be Kodagu, who have been resisting railway line from Mysore through Kodagu. It finally comes down to active citizenry. If people stand together and say, we do not want this, it is possible to say, because it's finally for the people, and that is why, again, democracy is so important, and active citizenship and ownership over land is so important. There are examples. Bandipur night traffic ban is another example. Of course, it went into a legal route where a bunch of well-meaning citizens, scientists, people working on ground, forest department also said no traffic going through Bandipur through the night. It was a long-drawn court case, and finally the Supreme Court said this is definitely no-go zone for traffic in the night. So there are these really shining examples of a combination of law, citizens coming together to resist something that's going through. Unfortunately, we don't see many of such things. Just if I could cite quickly, another example would be in Chhattisgarh. The Chhattisgarh Bachao Andolan, which the Hasdev Aranya is going to be mined for coal because they have large coal reserves. It's a protest that's happening for a decade, but how much of it do we read it in the news? What is the kind of media coverage it gets? So a combination of factors would have to fall into place if land use or rights of land to communities have to be protected. Unfortunately, successive governments have not really prioritized, and they seem to bulldoze any available land for either non-forestry purposes or infrastructure. Right now, we don't have too many, positives, to be honest. It's always a conundrum, ma'am. I mean, there is no, this is the only way forward. India is so diverse that each place has so much that we need to the local factors. It really comes down to multiple people, multiple factors falling in place to, let's say, protect land. It's a great question, but unfortunately, I do not have an answer to this. I can only cite some examples which have worked, but it's always work in progress, I would say.
These questions are actually thoughts for the mind, for all.
Absolutely, 100%.
Is it the country only for the fast-moving traffic, or there is something more? Are we taking the model of the West just in total?
No, the West is coming back now. In fact, they are deconcretizing a lot of concrete. They are bulldozing dams because they realize dams are very bad, but we are building more and more. So they have done all this, and now, the wheel of time sort of is going back, but we are at the stage where we just like concretizing massively. I don't know when we are going to, draw inspiration from our history and the water systems, which were so well thought of by architects who designed back then the towns and cities, but now we are in a phase of massive concretization, unfortunately.
Next, quickly, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, so I'll take under a minute. So one is we don't need tourists going into the villages for the villagers or the rural youth to get excited or inspired to follow the West. They are already there. They all have smartphones. They are all on TikTok, and it's got nothing to do with people coming in. Number one. Number two, if the local population is more aware, and they take ownership to protect their land and their culture. And then there is facilitated tourism. That's the only way it's going to, benefit. And number 3, just one point, because for a lot of us, even when I was on the other side, we tend to use our value systems to see, to kind of decide what's good or what's not good for the other people, where we are sitting here and, we think this is what is good for them. But a lot of times, I have, at least personally, been quite surprised when I go and talk to these people and ask them what they want. Is this working for them? Is this not working for them? And I would urge everybody to, to travel wherever it's possible and, meet people and talk to them and then understand what is working or not working for them. So that's all from my side.
I will let Vasavi have the last word.
Something to close with. I didn't get. No, it's okay. Something that you would like to add to the discussion.
No, I think all the questions are very pertinent. I'd like to just close by going back to celebrating Ragi Kana. One thing that was not mentioned is the importance of food, of local food systems. And I think many of us have taken it for granted. But I think as livelihoods also, to go back to local foods, local crops, local cuisine is very important. To address not only food scarcity, but nutritional deficiency that we have. So,
Thank you so much. And I would encourage all of you all to catch up over tea and take these conversations. Just a small token of for everyone. I request Chandra Jain ma'am to please come forward and